I want to welcome all of you and thank you for coming to the affectionately called the non-ceremony, the day before the ceremony. So now I'm going to introduce our host and MC, Mr. Scott Hardiman.
Deputy, your job is to make the principal look good, so I take that very seriously. I need all the help I can get because he looks really, really good. So we got to do this. Boss, I just want you to know these are authentic. That says Zubaz right there. So everyone, welcome to our non-ceremony before the ceremony. The whole idea is to have a little bit of fun. This is not what we do well, we do kind of do this on a day basis here. We do have a lot of fun. It's pretty serious business that we are engaged in. And so having the ability to have a little bit of fun is pretty key to getting through the day on some of the things that we're dealing with. Let's see, my friend Miguel, do you have the clicker, sir? Excellent. And I saw we already previewed a bunch of this stuff, right? So let's see what we got. Is this going to work There we go. All right. And these, what we've got here is so important. We're going to show it twice on every screen. So, welcome to the non-ceremony before the ceremony. What you'll see here is a few of the things that we as a staff have picked up from Col LaPuma over 3 years of incarceration with him. Service with him. And what you'll see also is Al is known. Can I call you Al? Now? In a couple of days I'll be calling you Hey You. Bud. So I want to welcome General Morris, Colonel Mance, Colonel Hund, Tom Owens, and Colonel Furlan. Thank you very much for coming. Col LaPuma's family, thank you for being here. We're going to subject you to a little bit of what we do. And hopefully you'll get a little bit of fun. And then all the friends and co-workers of Col LaPuma, welcome here. So throughout this, so Col LaPuma is known for his LaPuma-isms, as we've coined them. This man is a font of interesting sayings and phrases, and we probably started a little bit too late capturing them. There's probably a whole raft of them that we missed in the first year or so that we were here, but we started collecting them as time went on. So one of his quotes, save the drama for your mama and let's get started, right? So we're going to get this thing going. So this was one of his quotes, no kidding, in one of his reports to us on all the things he needed us to do. He was commenting on one of the products he had seen, one of the studies that we had written up, and I haven't seen these since Zubaz pants were in style. Most of us read that and had no idea what he was talking about. I had to Google it, and that's the picture I found. And so, what better way to honor Col LaPuma but to wear the Zubaz pants? So, I am keeping that label on it so I can return them. But the alternative, if I didn't wear this, if I didn't wear these Zubaz pants, then you might be stuck with this. And that's another quote from Col LaPuma. Make sure Mr. Hardiman breaks out his coconut bra again. It's a good look for him. So that was one of our events that we had where I was shamed into wearing a grass skirt and a coconut bra. So, okay. Now, we've got a few things in store for you. This is kind of an action-packed afternoon. For those of you who are presenting, we've got some time allotted for you. If you go over it, we're going to be sounding the alarm. We're going to be pulling you off. So just be aware of that. But I hope you'll share some of your fond thoughts and maybe even some not so fond thoughts about Col LaPuma and us So, the other thing is that you may not know, there's a band that has been touring the United States here. They are under the NC3 label, and they are a Grammy Award-winning band, well-known, well-respected. You may know them by some of these hits. Communication Breakdown. Yeah, fight on, man. Communication Breakdown. ANAAR 85, otherwise known as TBC-15.
We're doing the words.
Emergency Action Message in a Bottle. Report Back to Sender. Radioactive. And of course, their #1 hit single, Don't Know Much About NC3. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Freddie Neutron and the Grenier Street Band.
You need to practice.
Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Don't know much about NC3, even less about NLCC. Local hippies try to protest me, 'cause I'm a leader of NC3. Don't know how to spell EMP. I try to stay away from OSD, but I don't have to be so blue, no one else has a flippin' clue. What a wonderful world, NC3. Now I don't claim to be a nuke expert, but they flicked this on me. And if any programs fail to deliver, they'll just put the blame on Col LaPuma. Don't know much about BLF. Tried to send a message, but the place had left. Senior leaders want us doing more, but I don't know what a pagan camp is for. The Congress wants to give it all to me, and this is handing it all off with glee, 'cause they don't want to do NC3. Everybody, what a wonderful world, NC3. One more time. What a wonderful world, NC3.
T-shirts. All right, I haven't heard an update like that since MTV actually played a music video. So there you go. There's another one. All right. So now what we're going to do, a little bit more serious, we're going to bring in some of the folks from outside the unit to make some presentations. The first one that we've got is Colonel Hunt. If you've got a presentation.
It's very serious. So, the band alluded to this a little bit earlier, right? So, I'm not sure I expected, in the 2 years that I've been here at Hanscom, we've got to experience a lot of really crazy things. One of the things that just recently happened is I got a note from the head of the National Park Service back in like January, because he had received an email from the Minuteman High School, who had gotten an email from a group that wanted to protest at Hanscom. So I was like, wait a minute, they want to protest at Hanscom? What is this about? And actually, they kind of sent me a bunch of letters in protest. Really, the people they were looking for was Col LaPuma. But what I got for you is an actual protest banner, actually 2 of them, for the actual protest. That was scheduled to happen on Patriots Day. But luckily, on Patriots Day, it was a downpour, lightning, it was cold, it was windy, it was another nor'easter that blew through here, so they canceled. And I thought maybe we got out of here before they were going to actually do it, and then they came back on Memorial Day weekend. They gathered out at the gate, they all got arrested, and there's a little video, if you go online and search it, you'll actually see them as they're getting arrested talking about this. But one of the things that came with that is an actual letter to you. And I'm going to read this to you. Because you can't make this stuff up. This is addressed to Col LaPuma, Executive Officer, NC3 Command. Dear Col LaPuma, I write as a concerned citizen from the area and a longtime anti-nuclear activist with a pi symbol next to it. I don't know what that means. No one wishes to see nuclear weapons used, as it is understood that 50 to 100 bombs will catapult planet Earth, capital letters, into a nuclear winter and global famine with at least 1 billion people dead instantly. http://www.icanw.org, blah, 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 blah. I appeal to you as the executive officer of the NC3 Command at Hanscom Air Force Base to do all you can to prevent this illegal, immoral weapon from ever being used for the sake of our children, future generations, and all life on this planet. Sincerely, in peace. Signed. These colleagues are to help remind us all of the creative and wonderful things people do. So you can keep that. Seriously, from the Air Base group, as one of our 3 PEOs at Hanscom Air Force Base, Al's been a great partner, has always been there with us and your team in helping, in just keeping Hanscom as active as it is. I want to present you with this Minuteman as a reminder of all the time that you spent here. I mean, many more years than I have. You are a staple to the community, and the community really thanks you for all the support you've given me. Thanks. Congratulations, Al.
Ryan Mance from the Battle Management Directorate.
Big Temple's coming with me. It's kind of scary when I was looking up at the band. I was an HN at one time in 2012, and I recognized half the crew. Like, when I came back here, I thought, boy, I hope they don't suck me in. I did come here in 2012. I was here for 17 months. It was chaos. We're doing the LCMC reorg. And I was supposed to come work in battle management. I ended up working in HN. And I'm forever grateful. Al probably had a part of this, I don't know, but they gave me a hard look as I was coming up on 06 and was just coming out of the 9th Air Force to compete with a bunch of fighter pilots. And they said, hey, let's look at your record and see if we can compete you here at the MLR up at AFMC. And that worked out okay for me. And but the bad news was I was only here 17 months. So Al was my mentor. And I go, hey, I'm going to pin on 06 Hanscom. I'm going to be here forever. Look at Col LaPuma, how long? This was great. You know, my family was like, you know, hey, we're going to go through high school. My kids were in 8th grade at the time. They've been through 3 high schools since then. So I wanted to remark on a couple of things. One is that I think at one time you were in battle management, or what became battle management. So I've been sort of following you around, but I haven't. My career certainly hasn't worked out the same way. My first tour here was 17 months. I'm on my second tour here, and I've only been here 9. So I've done 2 tours at Hanscom, and I think I have just over 2 years compared to Col LaPuma. So I called up the Air Base group, and I said, hey, you know, whenever you're coming up on a deployment or they're going to PCS you again, you're always trying to talk to people and say, you know, somebody's been here a lot longer than me. Can't they deploy? I just came back. You know, so that was my excuse. And now I think tomorrow my calculus is all going to change. The average time on station for a colonel is going to drop by about 3 years. So retired. So given that theme, I had to call in somebody who's been here a lot longer than me to talk about battle management and Col LaPuma. So I'd like to turn it over to Dave Temple to wish you well. But on behalf of Mr. Wirt in Battle Management, you've been a long-time supporter and a colleague, and obviously worked in one of our systems at one time, which is now in HPD as our supporting some of our battle management programs. So Colonel LaPuma, we're gonna miss you. Al, you're a great friend and a great colleague and a great mentor to me. And thanks for what you're doing, and we wish you luck in the future. So I'll turn it over to Dave, who's been here, I think is the only one in the room that maybe Tom Powell has a few others, but he's holding a candle to you in terms of longevity here at Hanscom.
Well, two things I wanted to say about Al. I mean, any of us could go on all day about great things he's done and plaudits, but there's two things that I want to kind of bring up. One, Colonel Hans already mentioned, is his incredible ability to mentor. And the other thing, I've always seen myself as a mentor to Al, but over the years I've kind of seen that turn around, and really Al kind of mentors everybody, whether you realize it or not, and whether you need it or not. And that's always been really, really special and appreciative. I've been very appreciative of that. And just as an example of a couple of things that have come from that, I'll give you a couple of vignettes on both the mentoring aspect, as well as his incredible ability just to strategize. For acquisition folks, we all admire that ability. So I first met Al, and it was actually a couple of months after 9/11. I had come back to Hanscom and inherited a huge portfolio, but the portfolio that Al and I had was actually, Al was in charge right after 9/11 of the actual system that looks at all the planes coming in and out of the U.S. and protect it. And the situation was right after 9/11, well, we got to fix the system and make it better so nothing like this can ever happen again. But we didn't have any money. We didn't really have a strategy to go forward. Well, Al was working with his team, and I think it was one of his lieutenants was kind of saying, wow, my son's Game Boy actually has more computing power than the system that watches all the aircraft coming in and out of the U.S. And we're all going, that can't possibly be true. So Al got his engineers together, and they go, well, actually, in terms of software lines of code and computing power, yeah, that's true. A Game Boy has more power than this thing that's defending the nation. So Al took that strategy, kind of put a bumper sticker. We started briefing it everywhere in the Air Force, to congressional staffers and everything. Anyway, long story short, we ended up getting money for the program to improve it, along with a really interesting, at least it was for me, I don't know how Al feels about it, but we got a note from the Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, I think it was General McPeak at the time, basically saying, this is all you get, and I'm going to paraphrase here, I can't use the real words, but don't screw it up. So most people would be intimidated by that. Al wasn't. I mean, his answer to that was practically, no pressure, I got it. And essentially, we went through a lot to get that program online, but with a couple of modifications, it's actually still the system that's still in place in battle management today, watching all the aircraft coming in and out of the Air Force. And Al's not only the one that kicked that off and made it better, but he also did a little separate one that people don't know, but just in the DC region, we put a smaller version of that together, just to defend the nation. So that's just kind of the first example. The second example is a little more, I guess, personal. As you often do, you're sitting around the office on Friday deciding what you're going to do over the weekend, and we talk and things. And one particular Friday, we asked Al, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I'm taking Shannon, and we're going to hike up a mountain. Okay, and we said, and we're going to get to the top of the mountain, and we're going to have a nice little picnic and everything, and then I'm going to propose. It's like, okay, that's not a normal weekend. Are you sure? And he said, well, my strategy is I'm pretty sure she's going to say yes, because we're up on the top of the mountain. If she says no, it's a long way down the mountain. She doesn't run away.
That explains a lot.
But again, in, you gotta have a strategy. And I think probably the third thing that I kind of learned from Al and in terms of strategy is as we were getting to know things and you do things, it was a busy office, so we do social things, Al would have a lot of parties. So the first party I got invited to, Al lives in the fan camp in a trailer. So why is a major who's making a lot of money in the Boston area and getting this huge housing allowance, why is he living in the fan camp? And so Al kind of explained, well, I kind of bought a trailer on the cheap and I don't have to pay much facilities, but I'm getting this huge housing allowance and I can use that to pocket all that money, and in the future I'm going to invest that and then use it someday. I'm going to build my dream home, which for a lot of you that don't know, Al's built his own home and an incredible engineer along with his other talents, and so I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that? So there's many more examples, and I think on behalf of all of us, not only here at Hanscom, but in all the jobs, I've kept in touch with Al over the years, and it's been kind of a relationship where I can say that we talk back and forth about programs that he's been in. The system that I mentioned when I worked with him, he's done incredible programs ever since then. Even more important, I mean, that was just probably one of the more simple things he's been involved in. But Al's always come up with a strategy, a winning strategy to take programs further than when they started, as well as having this incredible ability to mentor. So for all the folks he's done that for across the Air Force, we just have a small token of our appreciation. And I'm going to open this up and show everybody. And I think it'll also kind of be symbolic with some of the organizations that he's had to deal with and some of the units he's had to deal with.
Big book, and it includes DVDs. So
You can play that on your Game Boy.
perfect.
To get this right, I want to say, the military thing, but Mr. Scott Owens from the C3INN Directorate.
Two things before I begin the presento. One, to you kids, your dad's a rock star, but I'm pretty sure one of the things you do not want to emulate is living in a trailer. And to Scott, we've been doing some work with Sean and Colonel Gaylord on some organizational things, and we have periodic meetings, and on one of those I need to cancel it because I was going to be on leave in New York City. And Scott said, New York City? And he said, listen, I need to get a knockoff pair of Zubaz pants. Down there, but the guy I bought it from had no return policy.
Now you tell me.
So on behalf of General Schmidt, who couldn't be here, he's the PDO for CQ9N. Actually, this is fitting that I do this because I am part of Al's deputy club. So I'm the deputy PEO for General Schmidt. And in Al's, Colonel LaPuma's role in what was then ESC, and it had a couple of numbers in it, and it was Wing Group Squadron, he was the deputy. So if you have ever had a deputy job, it just builds character, doesn't it, Al? So I don't want to steal General Morris's thunder, but there was a lot going on in our command in that time frame. And when Al shows up in that time period, what fell in his lap is just a lot of work. And it fell to the deputy to do a lot of that organized training equip that it took to get us where we are. So there was a ton of work. So we really are standing on your shoulders in that regard. Not to mention all of the things that were being improved from an acquisition perspective. Cyber is where we are today because a lot of the work that Colonel LaPuma did. So bringing us from ESC to AFL-CMC, he's probably one of those guys that had to sign an NDA when he was doing all that work, which is thankless. No one wants to do that type of a thing, but Al did a terrific job. There was, when I took over from Tanya Lambert, who took over from you, she gave me a little card and said, Scott, I really hope you enjoy this assignment, best wishes, P.S. Al freely left this place a train wreck. But we're getting there. So I have two presentos for you. I'm going to do reverse order. This is actually the final, but I do want to show folks the initial as well. General Morris is going to talk about Al's career a little bit, and what is impressive and particularly significant about this gift is from the time he was a junior captain, he was actually a C2 practitioner. Most of us, me included, are acquirers. And as Dave Temple said, he did an awful lot of that here in his times at Hanscom. So we all here are familiar with the significance of this, particularly at this location. And we hope this will find barn, homes. Here we go. This morning, last week when I was wrapping this, I got some old paper that needed to be thrown out, and of course I thought of Al. This is special for those of us here at Hanscom. This represents and is a picture of command and control of our forefathers, what they do. So I know that will have significance to you, what you made your career out of. Rick?
The replica of the collar there.
Okay, so that's the gift we ended up with. Let me tell you how this started a little bit. We got together. Col LaPuma is going to retire. Hey, help me out. General Schmidt can't make it. What did he do? Colonel Al LaPuma, he used to work here. Anybody? So we thought, well, let's try something else. We know he has been spending a lot of time building this home in the middle of nowhere. So we know as a homeowner in the middle of nowhere, there's a lot of work to do. So we thought we would get you a pair of work gloves. Here, let me, so you can model these. Here you go. So as you're doing real work, which, I assume we're hoping when you look at this, you can remember your friends. It's going to be particular, Jim, so thanks for everything.
Okay, now we're going to shift back kind of inside a little bit. So there's been some breaking news lately as people got word that Col LaPuma was retiring. There were some economic impacts that people were worried about that were going to ripple through the countryside. And so this one came across AP, breaking news, the grill in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For those of you who know, when the owner found out that Col LaPuma was retiring, he decided he's going out of business. He's just not going to make any money anymore. Because 4 out of 5 nights on a TDY to Kirtland Air Force Base, Col LaPuma was at the grill eating steak. So just to let you know, for any of you who are planning to go to the grill, it may not be there now. There's a lot of sadness there. So what is the pitchfork of fun and excitement? We found it. It was on a strawberry icebox pie at Strawn's in Hoosier City. So these things, you think pitchfork, fun and excitement, what is it? That's him, that's what he makes up. That was actually to describe the work we had to do, was the pitchfork of fun and excitement. The rest of it, that's what he called it. We all called it the pitchfork of doom and despair. Anyhow. All right, now, we're gonna have another internal presentation. And I'm going to call up the mayor of Albuquerque, New Mexico, Mr. Mosen Parskov.
Testing. So, where do you even begin to talk about someone who's larger than life? A fantastic leader, smart, funny. Okay, enough about me. I'm here to talk about. So before I begin, you all understand the 2 rules of roasting, right? Rule number 1. Miguel, I need your chair. Go sit over there. You'll thank me when I get to rule number 2. The subject of the roast must be facing the audience. So, I know, it's supposed to be uncomfortably close to the audience. And why do you look so nervous? I'm the introvert engineers out here. Now, I recognize that roasting Al LaPuma is like shooting fish in a barrel. I have enough material on him to retire tomorrow and start my own stand-up comedy show. Okay, Bird, I hear your inside voice. Mosen, don't quit your job. Give me a chance, man.
I don't know if that's what he was saying.
You may want to find the seat as well. Rule number 2 is not just him. You're all in my line of fire. Sir, not you, General, definitely. I like my job. You're not either. I don't even know who you are. I'm sorry. Okay, it's just him and Bird. Those are the 2 in my line of fire. So, you know, I knew that Col LaPuma was a down-to-earth kind of guy when I first met him. He told me. He says, hey, I'm a farm boy from New York. And he proved it. Because a couple of months later, we had the first weapon system review here in Boston area. And we had the social dinner that night. And a lot of people during the conference were asking, oh, what's the attire for tonight? So, business casual. And most of us took our jacket and tie off and showed up. And Al shows up in shorts, t-shirt, and tennis shoes, like he just went home, mowed the lawn, and came to dinner. The look on General Jansen's face when he showed up with his wife all dressed up was priceless. And he's looking at himself, wasn't sure, I'm overdressed or is he underdressed? But this farm boy from New York has done more for NC3 than the rest of the community all put together. So I want to start with a quote from former Secretary of Defense. Like I said, you need tickets. All right. You guys can hear me okay? Hey, Colonel Diablo. You just replaced him. Can you invite me to your going away police one time? I have to change my jokes. All right.
Guy who comes in late has to wear this thing.
Here's a quote from our former Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel. He once said, "We live in a world where cyber is an inherent part of conflict. It is a world of weaponized bits and bytes where an entire country can be disrupted by a click of the mouse." Now, Col LaPuma has spent better part of his tenure here at NC to teach others about the NC3 challenges that we're facing, and nothing really comes close to doing justice to what he has pioneered. Now, I truly think the only historical comparison that captures all that he has accomplished is James Bond. Now, all the Bonds that all the actors have played Bond role in over the years, of course, lack the dashing good look that he sports. All the fancy cars that he drives, nothing compared to his 10-year-old Subaru. And he has something more sophisticated than anything Q ever created, because he has a beautiful mind. Now, you can't even begin to comprehend NC3 until you see it through Al LaPuma's mind. And I didn't realize until I was preparing for this thing how many unusual names he came up with to describe how we're going to fix NC3. So I want to give you a couple of examples. It all started with the pitchfork of fun and excitement chart. Then one day he decided we needed to develop a ring of fire. Along the way came the need for circle of life chart, which he inevitably led to the peacock chart, which he tried to explain it via his beautiful mind chart. So I'm sure right now half the NC guys are trying to come up with more of these. Don't waste your time, just go see Christina and Rossi. They've cataloged it and they have a whole book on it. I've also never really met a man with more parallel eating habits to my own. I've traveled with him all over the world, from Europe to Hawaii and places in between. And those of you who know me well, you know that I don't eat anything that swims or flies. Yeah, for example, I don't eat chicken. And don't tell me chickens don't fly. They can if they wanted to, they're just lazy. So, of all the places that I've traveled with him, I tell you what, I can't even eat a ribeye steak every night of the week. Now, on any given TDY with him, it's a surety the first night is going to be a steakhouse. I don't even ask anymore. I just make a reservation, we go to a steakhouse. On the second night, you bet it's going to be a steakhouse. It may not be the one we went the night before, but it will be a steakhouse, so I don't even argue. Now, if we're there for a week, he's going to try to look like he's flexible, right? He says, Wilson, you pick where we're going tonight. Just pick wherever you want to go. I get excited. It's like, okay, he's Italian, he must like Italian food. We'll go to an Italian restaurant. We'll go to Carrabba's. And we're sitting there, and the waitress comes to take orders, and he goes, it says here it's a new item. And that's ribeye, right? Ribeye. Said, I'll have that. I'll have that. The next night, we go to a Greek restaurant. Guess what he's having? Ribeye steak. In fact, we're in Hawaii one time. I made a mistake of letting Rossi and Zarb pick the restaurant, and they picked this fancy seafood restaurant on the beach. So we show up, everybody at the table is ordering, seafood crap of the day, and Al and I are ordering 24-ounce ribeye steaks. I'm not even sure there are cows in Hawaii. I also noticed pretty early on that everywhere we go, he's paying cash for everything. So I thought, this farm boy from New York has never heard of rewards card. It's a credit card, get points. So I started feeding him articles from my favorite magazine, the Money magazine. In fact, I used to send him, the rack and stacking all the credit cards. And one day he finally got it. Finally he came, he was so proud. He was just, look, I got it. There's my rewards card. But then I noticed he's continuing to pay cash. Still. Then it hit me. He knows he can get rewards and put it on the credit card. But then Shannon will find out that he's been eating ribeye. I'm not sure what his plans are for future since he doesn't have TDYs as his cover. Be aware, Shannon. I've also never met, there are lots of never when it comes to Al LaPuma. I've also never met a man with so many one-liners. In his hip pocket, he doesn't have to practice, it just comes to him naturally. Where I have to work really hard at it, it comes to him naturally. And I'm going to share some of those with you. There's always a background to every one of these things. This one was after one of our conferences. He goes, I feel a little bad that people look so scared and nervous while talking to me. I'm not an ogre, that's why Scott Hardiman is here. During one of our briefings, many of the briefings, he goes, Christina, don't confuse me with the facts. Here's one. I love this one because it came after one of our tasker meetings. He goes, we're outmanned by every other unit we interact with. They can out-task us to death, and are effectively doing so. This one came out of one of our calendar meetings. He was very frustrated, and I think he put it in one of his, I'm going to miss your Sunday morning manifestos, by the way. I have mentally written to you all about numerous frustrations with calendar management. I've also had several imaginary conversations with you all as well. Apparently, I need to really write things down and have actual conversations with you in order for this to change. Here's one of his famous ones, and most of you all have heard him say this. We all know if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And of course, we know he loves his people, and except Dowd. Because Dowd will never graduate from GS-15 finishing school. He's still working on it. And of course, my all-time favorite one. Rossi, I love you, but stop talking. Which is my cue too. So we do have a few presentations to make to Col LaPuma. And the first one is, we talked a lot about that he likes steaks. Oh, yeah, I would sit down. Maybe about 10 more minutes.
Pull you off here.
Okay, so I had 45 minutes. Okay, so we talked a lot about he loves steak. So and Scott showed the picture of the favorite. A couple of years ago, I introduced him to this hole in the wall in Albuquerque. He loves that place, and we go there all the time when he's in town. It's definitely a given. We're going to be eating there 2, 3, 4 times during the TDY. So. We got you something from that place to remind you of this place. So let me. I think it's on. So try it out. The front is the name. We put the address in the back, so you can find the place again. Now, I really do understand that I got it one size too big for you, but there are two really valid reasons for that. Reason one, of course, is cotton. It may shrink, but more importantly, though, if you're a typical 06 retiree, you're going to probably put on 20 pounds right after your retirement. If you don't believe me, just look at Bert. I did not say roasting is over, so that's yourself. Now, I have known Bert a long time.
Way under.
Believe me, he has a bodybuilder's physique. Just ask him to show his picture on his iPhone that he carries. He used to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right. So this next item, so he's very frustrated. He has been very frustrated with the fact that, ad hoc purchase of radios for our command posts, right? And so once he said, and I quote, you can easily sneak any radio into or out of a command post. And he's right. The last time Rossi and I were there, we snuck one out. It's actually an HF radio, so it's much better than BLF crap that the rest of the Air Force wants you to operate to. Plus, where you're going to be living, I've seen your house. You're going to need this. So this next item, believe me, where you're living, you're going to need this next item too. I doubt if anybody can hear you scream. So. This is called a klaxon. For those of you not indoctrinated in NC3, this is a genuine NC3 piece of equipment. It actually you do know what this is, Scott, right? You've seen it. This is part of the aircrew alerting system. So you have now one of your own. Now, so many of you remember this 60-minute episode that aired, a couple of years ago. It talked about the 8-inch floppy disk as part of our, ICBM weapon system. So I'm proud to stand before you and tell you that Col LaPuma managed to eliminate all of the 8-inch floppy disks from the inventory. So we got one genuine one for you. This is believe me, it's as genuine as come. We just modified it a little bit. We had to. I'll explain later. Now, only if I could get him to eliminate those awful jokes that Chris Dowd starts every conference with, we'll be good to go. All right. Okay, what do we have here next? All right, so we all know that Col LaPuma has aversions to certain words and acronyms. I swear, to this day, Rossi asked me to say the word scam in front of him whenever he comes in conversation. I've seen Rossi say scam and then duck. So we managed to get you your own scamp dish right away. So So I have to tell you though, since I've got all of you as my witnesses, first of all of these things are real, genuine NC3 fielded equipment. And since my name is on all of these, there is some senior leader in DOD has either my voice on his voicemail begging for one of these, or a letter out there that I signed my life away to get. But they all have been properly cleared for you to have. Seriously, I managed to get all of these things right away in my suitcase through the TSA agents. It's your job not to hide it from TIA, CIA, NSA, all those air officers. And they have been properly cleared, but a very long shot, maybe 1 in 3 chances that you're going to get a knock on the door. Somebody would want to know where did you get this stuff. It's okay though. Seriously, give them mine and just say, you ready? You have to write it down though. BERARDIARDI. Okay. So we have one of the greatest accomplishments of Col LaPuma was the reference guide to the Book of Moses. Affectionately we call the NC3 handbook, which has yet, by the way, to clear, Christina without any edits. So we got just a cover for you, and we're 100% sure that this book is 75% wrong. So these are all the edits. Please hang it somewhere really nice in your house, like maybe in the garage or something.
Well, we can show this.
And finally, how do you really portray a true MC3 warrior? Now, this was truly a team sport here for us to get together and put this thing together. And I have to give credit to all those who had a hand in it. So yes, it was my idea. I came up with it several months back. One day I was in General Motors' office and we finished talking and he goes, you had an idea. I love that idea. He says, I know what you're going to put in as a background picture to this thing. I thought, great. So General Motors has a hand in this. And then I decided, I'm going to call, because of the background picture can only come from Global Strike. So I called all my friends at Global Strike, and both of them sent me pictures. And I selected the picture Ron Oliver sent. So the background picture is Ron Oliver. Of course, nothing ever happens without the magic of Rossi. So it has to be all put together, and Rossi added some gadget and make it look nice. And of course, my wife, Joan, was the chief production officer, so we printed it. May I present to you the NC3 Warrior. You'll get to see it later.
That's me.
Okay, so before I get off the stage, we all know what's coming when Col LaPuma says, guys, I love you all, but insert your own, criticism phrase, but with no criticism to be inserted whatsoever. We love you, boss.
Mosen, when we asked you to present the book of Mosen, We didn't ask you to take as much time as it takes to read the entire book. For that. So thank you very much. All right, so as we move along here, you know, Colonel LaPuma, he's really kind of, I think he's at a loss for what he's going to do next. So we've got a few ideas on his top post-retirement jobs. And in no particular order, you can let us know which one you actually prefer. Meet department manager at Number 2, Jack Special Assembler at the Bedford House of Roasting. Although that probably wouldn't be very good for them because they would all be eaten as soon as they were assembled. All right. Security guard at the Col LaPuma Memorial Double Wide Skiff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know, have any idea what a skiff is, it's up in that parking lot. There's 3 trailers that are being put together, and that is the Col LaPuma Memorial Double Wide Skiff. Actually, it's a triple wide. Winnie Sane creator for Hallmark cards. I mean, Mosen mentioned it. He is prolific. He will keep them busy. Beef futures trader on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I think he may be the whole market there, so maybe a little insider trading. I don't know. Strawberry icebox pie maker at Strawn's Eat Shop. There's a theme here: eating, yes, yeah. And finally, Zubaz pants model. You'll have to wrestle me for that. All right. So next we have another presentation from the guy who is responsible for nuclear command and control communications modernization. I give you Mr. Tom Powers.
Remind me to never follow the engineer introvert again. Jam 10 minutes into 28. Hey, you leave now too? All right. So one quality, so we'll start off somewhat seriously. One quality that has not yet been mentioned about Col LaPuma is his kindness and how easy it is to get along. He started working here, Colonel Col LaPuma started working here when Colonel Del LaPena was transitioning out, and I knew Del LaPena, didn't know LaPuma. So when Del LaPena left, we ended up in meetings together, and I just started calling Al Del. And he never stopped me from calling him. Hey, how you doing, Del? Sit down. Yeah, I'll see you later, Del. See you next one, Del. A month and a half later, I found out his name is Col LaPuma. Felt like a mole round. So one of the many things we're trying to do in NC is replace some of our aging systems. But Colonel LaPuma just doesn't want to replace them. He wants to leapfrog the technologies. He wants to go from where we are today, not to the next generation, but to the next generation's next generation. So he has a concept for that, and he even named it, and it's called Ansible. Which, you know, if you're a reader of science fiction, or you watch a movie called Ender's Game, there's a little thing in there called the Philodic Parallax Instantaneous, I knew I'd get it out without screwing it up, Philodic Parallax Instantaneous Communicator. And that's what Colonel LaPuma wants to build. It's a device that can communicate instantaneously anywhere across any vast expanse of space. So when I signed on, which was about 6 or 7 months ago, he said, TP, I want you to go make that happen. I want you to fix it. I need you to get on top of the situation and fix it. I said, oh, okay. The hell is a Ansible? Instantaneous communicator. So I went and grabbed a couple of the engineers, and they said, you know, well, we need to start this thing called the Demonstration and Validation Program. So we did. So the first thing you do when you have something like a DemVal program by short, it's kind of like you build a prototype. And somewhere around here we have a prototype of the DemVal program. So I won't steal the chair, I'll just kind of stick it over here and play it off. So you start off with something, you end up with a black box. And what we deal in a whole bunch of different frequencies, some of them, EHF, HF, and VLF. So that's kind of what we're demonstrating here on the left-hand side. What we want to do is all the signals coming in on these 3 wires kind of go through this configurator here and come out as one signal over here called all F. All right. So I expected there'd be some industry partners here. Do we have any industry partners here? Because if there were, you could write this off now as an industry day. Double up retirement party industry. Okay, so you got to have a black box, but a black box all by itself doesn't work. You need to have something inside, something called software. And we affectionately refer to software around us as the special sauce. Right? You got to have, nobody has a special sauce. Yes, this special sauce has to be invented. So we've got here inside this black box just some representative example of some special sauce, if I can figure out how to get it open. Don't touch that. That'll the gun can leave it let you. So inside we've got the software. And as you know, if you work here long enough, you know, anything in software grows. So the black box will eventually get bigger, and you'll need more special sauce because any software project is about 5 times over budget at the end. So we have larger examples of special sauce. Right? We got mussels marinara sauce. Spelled the right way, by the way. We got Sammy salsicha sauce. Spelled the right way, by the way. And I know, since you're moving to upstate New York, and you're a big steak man, we got Vinny the Bull sauce. So you can put a little bit of that on some of those steaks, you'll be one happy man, as I know you will be. Right. That was not last. With all due respects to the Genovese family. Did he make it today? No, he didn't. And I know you're in the TLF, so you can actually take some of that special sauce and do something real. Okay, so that's the demonstration. That's the initial prototype. Put the engineers on a little bit more, and we advanced that to a prototype number 2. Okay, so now we have yet an even more instantaneous communicator. One of these I don't want to touch. One of these I do. That's the one I do want to touch. Where's Andrew? Here you go, my good man. Don't touch the translogging thing. All right. So with a little bit more money on the... I've been hacked. With a little bit more money on the DEMVAL program, we actually now have a fielded version. This isn't how it worked in the script. Where's Freddie? Where's Freddie? What is it? Well, what we really got here, this thing works so well when it's working. That it actually... Stop going. And it actually records conversations that have actually occurred in the past. And it captured yesterday's staff meeting.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit right here and see if the mics kind of pick it up. Can you hear that in the back? Yeah. So yesterday we heard we had a problem with the MMPU installation. So what was our boss's response? So he said, well, geez, boss, do you have any recommendations you can make?
It's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, fix. Step 2, get. Until it's all finished.
Well, you're a pretty reasonable guy. Can we get back to you in a month?
Tomorrow morning when I have my bowl of whole grain Cheerios, the morning paper better read, it's been fixed.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's working for Col LaPuma. So, boss, friend, compatriot, I'm going to miss you, my good man. It's been 8 years or so? can hang that on the wall, or you can actually lay it down.
Quotes earlier. Here you go. We all know if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. Look who's not at the table. All right. Okay, we have another presentation coming on. I want you to really look at the quote and then look at the picture and tell me what, just keep your thoughts to yourself. This is another quote. With that, I'd like to introduce Perry Hill.
So you got jokes? I don't have any jokes.
We're vlogging. Of course you do.
All right. So now I had the opportunity to find out this morning that I was going to be presenting, and then come up with something quickly, witty to say. And then figure out I didn't have anything witty to say. But I do want to talk a little bit about the flag that we're going to present. Right? Throughout history, we've gone into battle with flags, and they've meant a lot, both tactically and what we do and how we communicate to the troops on the field. So, especially the Revolutionary War, Civil War, we lose kind of where's the line at, what's going on, and the regiments are kind of trained to go to the flag. Right? The flag led the way. The flag led the troops in the right position to go attack the enemy and to overcome and result in victory. At least that's the intended outcome. The flag bearers, known as the color guard, were those people that it was assumed to be a very prestigious position, very courageous to run into and lead the troops ahead of all others and stake it in the ground, say this is where we're going, I'm leading the way. And those folks took it so seriously that oftentimes died protecting it versus give it over to the enemy. Right? And no one better personifies a flag or the color guard or someone with that level of commitment than Col LaPuma has with this organization standing it up. We've sent him into battle numerous times to get shot in the face by senior leaders over and over again, never to be deterred, but to continue pressing forward. He's done an outstanding job bringing NC3 together where it has never existed in the past, despite adversity in almost every realm, really. And so with you, sir, we want to send you away with the flag, the Bedford flag, which is the longest living flag in the United States, battle flag that we have. Predates the Revolutionary War. It is actually on display here locally, as you talk to yourself. And so we appreciate everything you've done, the shots you've taken, and continue to charge up the hill, holding the flag for the organization. So thank you very much. Try to get some motion time back.
Actually, that quote, no kidding, he used that when we were talking about a project and we were talking about the different options we could take on that, and he wanted us to make a decision. That's his thinking. That's like on the job. Holy cow. Anyhow, so it's always, we never know what's going to come out of it. All right, here's another quote from him. I think he was getting frustrated by this in particular, as I think it puts Downism, right? Chris was always told, hey, you got too many charts, get it down to 3 charts, from 5 or 7 or whatever. And Chris would still have all the same information, just pack it up. And, so that's Col LaPuma. And this is our technology. We are in the lightning bolt business, and so that's what we do. People keep saying, all these guys, it's all lightning bolts. How do they do that stuff? But there it is. That's the technology we use. So. All right, next presentation. We do have our own Mr. Moneybags here at the NC3 Integration Directorate. And this is another quote by Col LaPuma. I'm going to send Rucci to the Pentagon with new coasters and he's going to get every BTR and ATR he can. So now BTR and ATR, that's how we reprogram money. Get some from someone who's got a little bit too much and give it to someone who may not have enough. And so that was Colonel LaPuma's marching orders for Dave Bridge.
It's a true story. I had all these coasters in my bag, and I was at the Pentagon, and I was trying to get through the metal detector. And of course, the whole thing gets set off, and the guys are going through, and they're opening every single box, looking through these coasters. And to this day, I think they held on to one. 'Cause I was sure. I came back with money, sir. Now, Shane, just to set the record straight, I've been TDY with Colonel LaPuma a bunch of times, and we ate salad the whole time. Now he does put, blue cheese on it. So I don't know if that counts, but a lot of salad. But in one particular TDY, we had been going hard. We had a bunch of meetings, and we thought, okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to go get a nice meal. And so, of course, we're looking around, and what do we find? But we find a Brazilian all-you-can-eat steakhouse. I have never been to one before in my life, so I don't understand how this works. The first thing I learned is that it costs about 3 days worth of per diem. The other thing I learned is that they usually have a buffet associated with it. And so we're going into the restaurant, and Colonel LaPuma is kind of giving us instructions, and he's like, that's a rookie error. All empty carbs, don't do it. So we're sitting down at the table, we're seeing other people come into this restaurant, and they're just loading up on the salad bar and rolls, and he's just pointing them out, rookie. As you know, they come around to the table, and they have all different kinds of meats, and you point and say you want it, and they'll cut some off. And so they come around, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try everything. And so they're coming around, and they've got like ham with pineapples. Like, nope. And then they bring around we got roast turkey. Like, nope. And finally, the guy stops. He says, what is it that you're waiting for? Like 10 guys had come by, and he basically said, prime rib, or the only thing that I found that can actually top it, filet wrapped in bacon. Now, it is classified how many fillets wrapped in bacon we ate that night. But JB, if you remember, I think we were sweating meat for 3 days. And you've got this little thing on the table that if it's turned up and it's green, it means keep coming, and when you're ready to give up and surrender, you flip it over, and it's red. They know to stop bringing the meat. Well, JB halfway through was flipping the thing over, turning it red, and Colonel LaPuma said, "What are you doing?" It go green, and we 3 days of per diem, but we got our money's worth. But Shane, that's the only time I've ever had to only time. But in all seriousness, when he's not at home, kids, when he's not there with you guys, he's a lot of times in the office with us or on the road with us, and what he's doing is he's modeling, he's showing us how to lead the way, he's mentoring us, he's giving us career advice, he's basically showing us through the course of his career what has worked for him and what can help advance him. And so I just want to say to you guys, thank you for letting him do that with us and all the hours that you guys sacrificed. We wanted to get you something, sir, that would honor and commemorate your career, the scope and the breadth of it. And so we have something up here that we would like to have you come up and take a look at. For those of you who cannot see it or haven't seen it, this is I've never seen a table. I've always seen a shadow box that would go on the wall, but this contains a lot of the patches, the medals, the ribbons that Colonel LaPuma has earned over the course of his career, and really is just a testament to all the hard work that he has done. The truth is that I know for many of us in the room, we will at some point in time have an opportunity to reflect back on our own careers. And we'll have an opportunity to look back on some of our patches that we've worn or decorations or ribbons that we've earned and been awarded. And the truth is that Colonel Al LaPuma's name will need to go right next to those because he was such a huge part of helping us succeed and gain achievements. So, sir, congratulations on your retirement. Enjoy this, and thank you so much.
made any side commentary on the gifts, although I could have with the scan. But they told me coffee table. I'm not sure what kind of coffee these guys are drinking. They do know that we've already used the holidays.
I will say about that table, we were approached actually by a group of folks out at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that have actually worked with Colonel LaPuma, and they wanted to do this for him. They talked to us, and they volunteered their time and the materials and that kind of thing to put that together. So we are greatly appreciative of that, and it's very well deserved. All right, so now moving along here. So because we're a relatively new unit, because of the mission that we have, because of some of the issues that have gone on there, we've been getting a whole lot of senior leader attention. So there was a little thing that went on here a few months ago where Colonel LaPuma was the central attraction for quite a few senior high-level dignitaries. And so he had this is in our hallway in our building. That's Colonel LaPuma right in the middle of that. And I'll point out who some of these people are. As we went into the conference room, so these folks gave kind of an address to the workforce, and then we went into a conference room where we could have a kind of secret conversation about what's going on. And this is how Colonel LaPuma led off that discussion. This is the quote he said. Let's see, I'm briefing two senators, a former Secretary of Defense, my boss's boss, and the head of all nuclear matters for the Air Force. What could possibly be? Now, here are the two senators. There's the two senators. Here's the former Secretary of Defense. Now, see that guy in the middle there with the black circle around him? Here's my boss's boss, General Polakowski. And here, right there, right in the middle there between SecDef Carter and Senator Reed is the head of all nuclear matters for the Air Force, Colonel Stryver's boss, General Jack Weinstein. So that actually happened in our hallway, in our thing, and that's how we started it. And to his credit, that set the tone for the briefing. It went very well. It was pretty interesting to see General Polakowski and former SecDef Carter playing backup to Colonel LaPuma because he was the primary briefer and they were supporting him and that kind of thing. It's usually very much the other way around on those kind of things. So that was a really great thing to be able to witness.
So what's the title of the photobomber on the right?
Zubin. All right, so we already heard this quote, but that is Colonel LaPuma's quote about Mr. Chris Dowd. He'll never graduate from GS-15 finishing school. You still take as much time as you just talk about it.
Yeah, I could have done his in 5 minutes and said everything he said. I wanted just to mention a couple things. We have another gift to give you, but some of the things, some qualities and quirkinesses of Colonel LaPuma. Some things, really awesome. The vision that he can paint. And he's done it for all of us. Taking NC3 from nothing. He already kind of, in a very short period of time, was able to, kind of paint this picture for us. But it also kind of put us on the spot. I remembered my first day. Getting there, I was, and he gave us kind of a quick rundown and brief, and he looked at me and he said, and Dowd, you're going to be, in 2 weeks, you're going to be briefing the entire nuclear community on the end-to-end testing of the NC3 weapon system. I know you got this, you do a great job, no problem. It moves on, and I go, one question? What's an NC3 weapon system? He trusted us, we'd figure it out and move on, and he'd inspire us along to do that. But, one of the things that we saw, someone mentioned earlier, the manifestos that he would come out with. unbelievable. He had this visionary look. He saw the big picture, where we needed to go, what resources we needed, what we were trying to accomplish, and yet it wasn't just the big picture. He knew every intimate detail, and it was evidenced in these manifestos that he would come up with. I think Mosin mentioned them, the Sunday morning manifestos, because I guess he got some quiet time on Sunday without us all coming in and bother him, and he could, Shannon let him come over and get some work done on Sunday mornings, and he put these manifestos that covered like pretty much everything that we didn't complete in the last few months and everything we need to do in the next few months or the next few years in intimate detail, along with assignments and due dates and all this. Like, how does he come up with it? I can't, just trying to remember our piece, and he's got all of them. It's just incredible. So even though I got to travel with Colonel LaPuma a number of times, and one of the trips was to Rome, New York, I discovered that pretty much he loves New York so much that everything that's ever been invented originated somehow in New York, or it became famous when it went through because it was part of New York or something like that. But one thing I could say that we recognize, and this couldn't have come from New York, but one thing that we recognize in you, because of your attention to detail, the visionary approach, the big picture down to the tiniest detail that you can keep track of and manage, is a Boston term, and that's what we know. You're wicked smart. You guys got a wicked smart daddy. One of the things that really sticks out is Colonel LaPuma. As they say, you hear the saying, people don't really care how much you know, how smart you are really, until they know how much you care. And his walkabouts around the unit, his interaction with people, one-on-one with people, that he, with all of the stuff on his plate, would still make the time to walk around and talk with people, and not just, oh yeah, it's time for me to go do that thing, but actually, have intimate conversations with people and get to know people and encourage people and find out where your challenges are, and really genuinely, sincerely wanting to know how he can help and what we can do differently and what's bothering you. How can he help you be more productive or happier on your job? And that's just really, that's an awesome inspiration to everybody. And you can have leaders that make time to do that, but that aren't as genuine and sincere. We thank you so much for that. It means so much to all of us. And I want to give you one of these examples about how wicked smart he is. Some of you won't get this, because he invented a secret code. We do a lot of classified things, and sometimes you can't say things because you're not in the right environment, or you have a cell phone on you or something like that. So he made up a secret code that I realize it's probably going to be over a lot of people's heads, but it goes something like this. Let's say he had something off color to say about, I don't know, a general officer in his chain of command. So you wouldn't know who he was talking about. He would have a secret code, and he would say, like, look, I gotta say this about somebody, but I don't want you to know who it is. But it rhymes with General Boris. Nobody could possibly figure out, or he had something to say about a contractor. He goes, well, I can't say publicly the name of the contractor, but it rhymes with schmoing. Is that not a great demonstration of wicked smart?
Most of the time he was talking about some guy named Schmau.
A little quirk, and I'm not sure because his name has P in it, LaPuma. But I noticed in my early time with the unit I had, and you've seen them come up here and speak, Poochie, Pogue was there, Perrine, Perry, Par's car. I'm going, damn, I'm glad my name rhymes with Poud. Anyway, you saw some of the quotes that he's had along the way. His sense of humor, tremendously appreciated. I kind of, some of the ones that have already been stated I had in my mind to mention, but one of the ones that I liked when you pointed out to him that he told you to do something or say something in a certain venue, and you did that, and he goes, no, why'd you do that? You go, you told me to do that. No. do what I wanted you to do. Don't do what I told you to do. Got it. But that was the level of trust he has in us to get things done and figure it out. That quote that you saw, surrounded by senators and all the 3 stars and 4 stars, just undaunted all the time and able to break the ice and make the communication. In the communication business, it's important to be able to communicate, and he's an excellent communicator up and down the chain of command, highly respected, highly regarded, and undaunted. And I had the unfortunate experience once in an exchange, sharing the stage with him in a presentation at a senior event where a 3-star that I won't mention, but the names rhymes with Meinstein, said to him, and this is a pretty close quote, Al, if it's just your opinion, why should I care? But he stayed up there with a smile and had a humorous response, and a couple months later, with a little bit more information, I think the 3-star realized that there was other information that helped shape a position change from the Air Force that moved hundreds of millions of dollars into what he was recommending that we do. And so, undaunted, that could kind of throw a few people off the track, and those kinds of things he continues to work through. Candid, frank and fearless, as Dave Pucci was mentioning. He kind of shared with us. NC3 weapon system, the NC3 arena for a number of years has kind of, fallen in decline. We got comfortable post-Cold War. And one of the, symptoms of, in the military across the realm is senior leaders don't want to be surrounded with yes men. But a lot of people junior to senior leaders think that they do, so they answer yes, and they yes, you're right, and are kind of afraid to point things out. And Colonel LaPuma made it clear to us that that's not what our leadership is looking for now, and that we need to take the time and share candid truth, which he has, with and override political correctness. And let's make sure that we're calling a spade a spade. Let's bring our leadership the information we need to make solid decisions going forward. And of course, in his usual flair, he goes, "Look, I'm not eligible for a star. They wouldn't let me retire yet. I might as well be brutally honest with some difficult truths. What are they going to do? Make me retire?" So he equipped us to bring him the hard truths and the stuff that we discovered along the way, and he brought it up and took those shots to the face, as others were saying. And that's been great and inspirational to be around a leader like that really wants to do the right thing at great personal risk sometimes, and I appreciate that. And ultimately optimistic. I mean, he's a Bills fan. This is I heard this story before, and I swear it must have been about little Al. Because I'll tell you the story and you'll see how it relates. So this boy goes out into the backyard and he's got a baseball and a bat. And he throws the ball up in the air and he says, "I'm the greatest hitter in the world." He swings around, misses, nothing. Throws the ball up and, "I'm the greatest batter in the world." Nothing. 3 or 4 times. Nothing. And he sits down, he's frustrated. "I'm the greatest pitcher in the world." This is it again. I think that story, meant to be an inspirational story, was probably little Al LaPuma. Modeled that. So anyway, we do have a gift for you. And all that stuff about Wicked Smart, I was just kidding, we got you a picture book. This is from the NC3 Integration Directorate, and it's just literally is pictures of just events and things that he's been involved with and led us through over the years. A bunch of his quotes are in here, so you can have fun with that, reading through that. And also, if you haven't had a chance, I realize not everyone got a chance to write a note in here, so we have spots and pictures of most of you in here too. To write a note, you'll get a chance to do that. But we really appreciate this and present this to you from the unit. Thanks. If I can wrap up, like I said, most people in here won't get it, but I will. I'll use the secret code. But this rhymes with "We love you, man."
That gift, one of the things Colonel LaPuma was talking to us about when we started talking about the retirement and that kind of thing. The one thing he really wanted was a yearbook. He wanted the pictures of the people in the unit and that kind of thing, and it just shows how much he thinks about the people in this unit and that kind of thing. So that, sir, that is your yearbook. We hope everyone will sign the back. You can tell them you liked them in social studies class. Let them know have a great summer. I guess we won't see you in the fall. So yeah, definitely come up and sign that thing. And the other thing I don't know if Kate is still here, but Kate. Oh, there she is. So Kate Nelson put that yearbook together. So thank you very much, Kate. There's Jackson right there. So one of the newest members of the team. I don't think Jackson, is Jackson in the yearbook?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Great. All right, another quote. It's not like we threw all the pieces up in the air and it came down a freaking Timex, right? I won't tell you what freaking means, but and what came down looked more like biscuits and gravy, So that just said we had a mess to deal with there. All right, we have another presentation. Next up, it's our Ted Kaczynski lookalike, the Unabomber, aka the Unabomber, Jay Vaughn.
Intro with the gift, isn't it?
I
was so I've been doing intel for 30 years. I was so thankful because Col LaPuma rescued me. I spent 30 years in a skiff in the dark, like a mushroom in the dark, and they fed me fertilizer. Okay, so he rescued me and got me out of the skiff, and I'm so grateful for that. I've kind of put something together to commemorate not only my gratefulness, but something that commemorates his career. And then I heard just a minute ago that you guys are putting together a triple wide skiff, so I guess I'm off probation. So anyways, with that, what I got here is something to commemorate your career that kind of speaks to the point where you are. This is the Enola Gay. I painted this. I went and did some research, and I found out that information on the internet is a bunch of baloney. So I went to the Air War College and actually got some of the mission plans. So the plane is coming off target. The mission is accomplished. She's in a 60-degree bank, nose low, has just delivered the bomb. And they're heading out, and you can actually, if you guys look, you can see the mushroom cloud there reflecting in the skin of the aircraft. And this is, I thought, kind of appropriate, apropos for Colonel LaPuma, because he's accomplished an incredible mission for the nuclear forces for the United States, similar to these guys here with Paul Tibbets and his crew, having done an excellent job and leaving behind an incredible legacy. So with that, for you, sir, we got something a little more serious out there.
Yep. It's always awesome to see the kind of talent that's resident in some of our offices. You don't see that day to day, and so that's really a big deal. All right, another quote. When is absolute panic coming again? That was we knew something was. We didn't know what it was, but we knew something was right around the corner. In this case, I think it was the Nuclear Weapon System Enterprise Review was what was causing the next panic for us. But all right, with this, don't farkle it up. That's another great saying. We won't talk about what farkle means. This is a family-friendly audience, but Col LaPuma would often admonish us not to farkle things up. So with that, speaking of farkling up,
All right, so I will be quick because we still have to get back on time from Mosen's speech earlier. So I'm going to kind of piggyback on Perry's gift earlier. We got a flag that we decided to fly over some spots that we think would have some meaning to Col LaPuma here. So not long after I got here, I found out that I actually worked at the same ROTC detachment that the colonel went to and graduated from. So part of that, we reached out to Lieutenant Colonel Nims at Clarkson University, and we had them fly the flag before a college hockey game there. So they were able to fly that for us before the game. They made an announcement during the game that was flown in his honor, recognizing 28 years of service. So we were able to get that. And then after that, Mr. Whitby here was able to coordinate with Whiteman Air Force Base to fly it out of B2. Got that flown on the 7th of April, tail number 93-1086. Major Timothy Sullivan and Major Stephen Eldine. We were able to fly that. Last but not least, we were able to contact the Buffalo Bills. We got them to fly it on the stadium. They sent us a picture. As you can see, there's nobody in the stadium. So that shows we were able to do it during a Buffalo Bills home playoff game. So we got a certificate of recognition, said it was flown over New Era Field in honor of the Colonel on the 25th of May 2018. So after that, we were able to get a flag here for you, sir. I've got some pictures and stuff I'll give you for all that.
all right, we heard kind of a reference to this one. This was a good one. Don't confuse me with the facts. You're still in trouble, and an extra 1,000 push-ups to the both of you for quibbling. So, always made our meetings pretty interesting. All right, we've got a couple of kind of off-script presentations. This next one, if JB's talking but no one's listening, will it still take 20 minutes? So with that, JB, I think you have something. Look at that picture. Nobody is looking at JB, and he is talking.
He's got to make it look good.
That's okay. I still can't outdo most of them. So one of the things that we did in standing up this unit, we have an awful lot to cover. We have a significant presence here at Hanscom. We have a presence out of Kirtland. But 90% of the stock that's in the weapon system that we manage is under 7 other PEOs and 15 different offices across the entire country. And we've got to integrate all this stuff in a way that it's never been integrated before, because we went all the way back in history and no one had ever looked at all of this as a weapon system. It just kind of grew up on its own over time. So how do we do that? So we decided that we were going to model something that the air delivered folks have done, because they integrate the weapons with the platform. So they put embeds into those program offices for the platforms. So bombers, aircraft. So anyway, we said, but how do we do that? Because we're kind of a platform of our own, and it's the spectrum. And what we have is radios and terminals that go on all of these different platforms and in all of these command centers that actually execute this mission. So we looked at it and we said, well, where does this stuff actually live? And who manages it? Who supports it at a national level? Where's our MAGCOM? So we decided we were going to put embeds out to help with that integration, to pull all of these different program activities together. Because while the PEO hat's a big one, the integrator is its exercise. And that's, you know, General Polakowski said when we gave her the outbrief on this, that's going to be the tougher one. And she was absolutely right. So I'm in bed, and I'm stationed, my home station is Los Angeles Air Force Base, and I get to spend about 20% of the time there, because we're still working to integrate all of this. We have an embed at Wright-Patterson where the largest concentration of the platform PEOs are. Obviously AFMC headquarters, Air Force Research Lab, NASIC, a lot of key players in this mission area. We have embeds at the 3 logistics complexes where all of this stuff is sustained and also ties in with the maintenance and supply portion. So we're all one deep out there. We have very soon coming on board an embed who will reside with the NC3 Center down at Barksdale, and we're working again to hire someone to be seated with DIS out at Fort Meade, who has the architecture responsibility for EOD for the mission set. So we don't have a whole lot of resources. We're very dependent on the folks here. Zach, I don't know where you sitting, Zach. Zach back here is he's one of our support contractors. He's our anchor back here and helps us schedule things because we don't have an admin staff. We don't have all that support. But it's been quite an effort. But that was another one of your visions. And how are we going to integrate this stuff and pull it together? And it takes a while, but it's working. We've seen some monumental cooperation that was never there before in working with the platform managers and the other PEOs to really recognize that this wasn't just something that we made up after too much time in the Blind Tiger. It truly was something that was inspired. And so we're going to let out a little secret because we're going to now go public with where a lot of that inspiration came from. And it wasn't too far from the Blind Tiger. So across from the Blind Tiger is a psychic shop. And after a long day working on the task force, we would go back and all go up, all of us folks from the acquisition side of the house, and have dinner, and then we would walk across the street and get inspiration from the psychic. And
there's a whole series of these pictures.
Oh yes, but this is the latest one that was taken with all of our embeds, and that's Scott Hartman right there.
I always wanted to be an embed.
The photobomb guy again. But again, a little something for you to remember us and our very humble beginnings in Barksdale.
So the answer to that question is yes. All right, so we had one gentleman show up a little bit, in the middle of the ceremony, but Colonel Mark Jablow from Air Force Global Strike Command.
Hey everyone, please forgive me for appearing in this attire. So I don't have a shave, I have my traveling duds on, started my day at 01:30 to be here. I also don't have a gift for you. I have very funny words because I'm not a funny man. But what I do bring is the appreciation of everyone at Barksdale for what you've done for the NC3 community. I talked to General Tibbs about you yesterday, I know what you've done, and it's been tremendous. I've gotten to work with you, I guess, 16 months or so now. I think it's one of the, I guess, 3 horsemen of the apocalypse that find ourselves having to brief at pretty high levels, pretty often occasions. It's been a sheer honor to take part and work with you alongside and learn from you. You're going to be missed hugely, but we'll figure it out. So, thank you.
All right, this is where the ceremony becomes, or the non-ceremony becomes a little bit more serious. We got 2 things with General Morris. The first is the presentation of the Legion of Merit to Colonel LaPuma. So Colonel LaPuma and General Morris, if you'd come up, please. And if you'd stand by while I get my reading card. All right, ladies and gentlemen, attention to orders. The Legion of Merit, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster, is being presented to Colonel Alfonso A. LaPuma, who distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct and performance of outstanding service to the United States Air Force as Program Executive Officer, Nuclear Command, Control, and Communications Systems, and as Director, Nuclear Command, Control, and Communications Integration, Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center, Air Force Materiel Command, Hanscom Air Force Base, Massachusetts, from 1 October 2015 to 1 October 2018. The leadership, exemplary foresight, and ceaseless efforts consistently demonstrated by Colonel LaPuma resulted in significant contributions to the effectiveness and success of the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center. Colonel LaPuma stood up a new directorate, grew it into a top-notch organization staffed with 144 personnel and funded with a $27 million annual operating budget within its first 2 years of operations. As the Program Executive Officer for NC3 Systems, Colonel LaPuma executed a portfolio of 17 programs valued at over $1.2 billion. He broke a 4-year impasse on the new survivable satellite communications terminal for the nation's intercontinental ballistic missile fleet, pushing the system through operational tests and paving the way for fielding to missile launch control centers. Furthermore, Colonel LaPuma secured $378 million for the development of critically needed advanced satellite communications terminals for the nation's bomber fleet. He rapidly earned the reputation as the go-to person for all Air Force nuclear communications matters, and his counsel was actively sought by the commanders of U.S. Strategic Command, Air Force Global Strike Command, and Air Force Materiel Command. Finally, Colonel LaPuma's dedicated actions reversed over 2 decades of missionary neglect and restored senior leader confidence in the Air Force's stewardship of its nuclear enterprise communications systems. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel LaPuma reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Yes, sir, it is your turn.
What's entertaining about these is they're always learning experiences, right? You always learn a lot in these events. And Al, usually I learn about the individual, but in this case, I've learned little about you, right? Most of these things I know, but I've learned about some other folks. And I'll start with my staff. So Chris Dowd talked about, right, the secret language. Like, how could that possibly fool anybody? But here's a good example of how that can fool somebody, right? So whenever I'm traveling someplace, if I'm doing an event, right, my staff will generate an event brief. And so the event brief tells me, hey, we're doing this, and you might have to present and do those things. So then we called this a non-event. So what did I get? Nothing, right? So my staff was full. It's a non-event, so clearly they're not doing anything. So General Morris, clearly you have no role in this non-event. Right? So I found out about the same time period that actually, hey, maybe you should present. And we have a gift and all of those things. And so, so we're just going to kind of make it up as we go. And then I also learned I should always schedule whenever I'm presenting after Mark Jablow. Because first I'm wearing adult pants. So by definition, I'm already ahead. And he had nothing to say and presented nothing. So any industry day, anything, we're going to schedule Jablow and then Morris. It was just too easy. And then, this is interesting for the family, right? Because this is something that we always do, and I've never understood why we do this, right? So we have these great events, and of course we wait until after all the household goods have been packed, right? And then we give you furniture, and then everybody else. So I drove by Mosen's house. Right? He was having a yard sale this weekend. This is all the stuff that didn't sell. He literally put your name on all of his junk that did not sell and brought it and gave it to you. And this is probably stuff that they did this to him when he retired. So now you've got to come back for somebody else's retirement, please not mine. And give them all the stuff to get it out of your house. Right? Tom's giving you the old stuff in his refrigerator. I bet if you peeled those off, all the expiration dates, all that stuff, he just emptied his refrigerator and gave it to you. Because that's what we do. We have these events and then we just give you all of our junk. And so, I don't know why we do that, family. I mean, I'm sure you're all trying to sit there and think about why we might possibly do that. So, had I had more time, Al, I have all kinds of junk I could have brought to give you, but I didn't. But I do have something to give you. We'll hold off on that for just 1 second. But I do. Let me see if I can make sure I get the right one. So I do want you. So this is really good. I didn't tee it up as much, right? So we had talked about like Michael Jordan, right? And I may bring up Michael Jordan tomorrow or something similar, right? We needed a statue, right, for you outside of the Global Strike Command headquarters. But I want you to remember this picture. This is an important picture because one of the things I think about when I think about this weapon system, right, is the movie Benjamin Button. Have you guys seen the movie Benjamin Button? And it's perfect. It's an imperfect analogy for this weapon system, right? Because we took this thing that's really old. And it was born that way, right? It was born really old, and then Al has spent all of this time here trying to make it younger, right? And so Benjamin Button is a great analogy, but it's also a great analogy because I don't know about you guys, but when I think of Al, right? Brad Pitt comes to mind, and for kids. Right, so you're all looking at me like, I thought I knew who Brad Pitt was, and I know who Col LaPuma is, and I got to put it. So it's like those Magic Eye books. You guys have seen this, right? It's all the colors and the swirls. So in order to so you can think about this tomorrow during the ceremony. You'll have 2 opportunities because Al's just going to be sitting here the whole time, right? And so what you have to do is you just kind of stare at him. Right, and let your eyes get kind of blurry because that's the way those work, right? And you got to kind of get distorted, and then the picture kind of comes, or the dinosaur comes out at you. So that's what will come out, right? So, that picture. So keep that in mind. That's what you're trying to get. You just have to kind of stare. And I used to think, right? So Al would be talking about NC3, and all of the folks around the room would be looking at him like that, and I thought, man, they just do not understand a word he's saying. But in fact, that's what's happening. They're all just trying to get their eyes kind of blurry and distorted, right? So Brad Pitt will come out. So that's something to do tomorrow, because you're going to be forced to sit here for a long time and stare at Al as he sits in the chair a couple different times, so you can play that game and it'll work out. So with that, Al, you can come up. We do have something for you. This is our very traditional nuclear weapons center gift. Obviously in the center, for those of you who don't know, this is the Zia, the traditional symbol of the native people of New Mexico, which is where our headquarters is. And we've all signed it. I think most people said nice things. I didn't read all of them. Just in case I didn't read anything. thing? Right. So everybody said about how nice you were. And so I was trying to reconcile that with the fact that I'm, right, so we set up this nice agenda today. I'm working on about, I don't know, 4 hours of sleep. And I ate sometime yesterday afternoon. And so we set up this great agenda today, right, that involves me not eating or getting anything to drink. And I thought, wow, everybody's saying these nice things about Al, but he's been starving me to death. Then I realized, right, I was looking at it through the wrong lens, right, because you were really recognized how long-winded all the people on your staff were, and by keeping me without anything in my system, I haven't had to go to the bathroom. So in fact, you were looking out for me, and I appreciate it.
All right, well, this thing started, when we first started talking about all this, this was Colonel LaPuma's opportunity to talk to us, right? And so far that hasn't happened yet, right? So, and we're now out of time. And I'll just ascribe that to Mr. Parskar and Mr. Breidenbach and maybe a little bit of that Schmaut dude. But anyhow, so I'm going to get off the stage. We're going to turn it over to Colonel LaPuma to make some comments. His call sign, though, before he was ever with us, we did not make this up. His call sign was Beaker. Right, and I don't know why, but I don't know, maybe there's a resemblance, I just don't know. Colonel LaPuma, thank you. This has been great. Everyone said things, you guys, all the presentations, thank you very much. A lot of work went into this, and I think for Shannon, for Teresa, Annabella, and Anthony, I hope, and the rest of the family, I hope you get a sense of what Al's been doing while he's not at home, right? So we took him away from you for a lot, and I know he regretted that a lot, and he thought about you guys all the time. He's got a folder, I know you've heard that. He's got his picture of his family there, and he thinks about you guys all the time. And he is a dedicated American Air Force officer, just an outstanding person. We're going to miss you a lot. That's our unofficial motto came up with by Mr. Colonel Rossi, and that's our motto. All right.
Yeah, last. All right.
Okay. Yeah, it's supposed to be from 1 to 3, and I was supposed to be the main speaker. Okay. So I'm going to give up some secrets at this point. You know, the unit has accomplished a lot more than people ever thought we could in a short amount of time. And there's a reason for that. I hired only superheroes. Now, the thing about superheroes is their identity is kept concealed, right? But today, I'm going to reveal all of the secret identities of the unit. And so when you come on up, as your picture comes up, unfortunately you will be forever revealed, and you're going to have to hit everybody with a Men in Black pen or something before they leave this room. So we'll start with NCA, and we'll start with our longest briefer today, Mr. Mosin Parskar. All right. So we'll have come right on up here, Mosin. All right. So Mosin is actually Mr. Incredible. He is the go-to guy for anything, or when you really want a really long document written or a briefing. And so what I'm giving everybody is, so I'm trying to meld family with military family. So these are pint glasses from a brewery in upstate New York, the West End Brewery. And so it's just a little, it's not much, but it means everything, you know what I mean? Don't stay up here because I want all of NCA to kind of be seen for what they really are. So let's start with Christina, if you could please come up. You'll start to see the theme very quickly. So Christina is, of course, Mosen's work wife, and therefore she is Elastigirl. She is stretched beyond belief, especially working for Mosen Parska. Oh, Brian Sparvin, come on up. Click too quick. Perfect. Let's stay up there one more. Rossi. So it's not the girl, which would have been funny, but it's Jack Jack. Anxious to use the superpowers he possesses. All right, so that's so NCA is really the Incredibles. So there you go. All right, NCI, Mr. Tom Powis, could you please give down?
Against my will, yes.
All right. So he's Star-Lord. He's a star, and he lords over his division. All right. Mr. Mark Flanders? This one was actually really easy. You can tell from the picture already, can't you? You can tell? Hold on. Get the picture up there so we can see it. That's awesome. Major Brewster. See, the picture doesn't do justice. The actual smile he's got going on. Hey, smile at the crowd there. There you go. Laughing all the way to our first NC3 test. Kate Nelson. Oh. And accoutrements.
Newest NCIer.
Yes. Solving the Manning problem one person at a time.
Any way we can get it.
Gamora, right? Yes. You want to mess with her on Mod and Sim? I don't think so. Rob McConnell. I actually came up with this really specifically for this picture. Because it's perfect. Clearly, baby girl. So there you have it. NCI is the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Peg. So he is not here. He's in a class, but we will show it anyway. Lee Pogue. He handles acquisition faster than anyone. He's the Flash. NCO. Sean. The picture gives this one away too.
Such a flattering which one it is.
There you go. These have been great, our managing operations. Hey, Poochie. There you go. Okay, you can probably figure this one out. There you go. Green Lantern, Guardian of the Fun. Logistics, Perry Hill. That's Perry's younger brother up there. Superman. Kryptonite's the only thing to take Perry out, man. He has taken some shots the past couple of months. All right. Where's Bob Colpitz? Come on down, Mr. Colpitz. Hold on, we got a public embarrassment. Okay, Iron Man. Need to be armored up to take on personnel.
Oh, man.
Where's Patrick? So, Buzz Lightyear? To the triple line and beyond? Jay? Again, pitcher gives this one away. This is pretty easy. You guys probably should have been able to figure this one out.
It's not going to be Fat Elvis, is it?
No, no.
You know glasses.
All right, so. We will beat Intel into you. All right. Mara is not here, right? So Mara, she is Katniss Everdeen. You might want to rethink those terms and conditions. So I didn't do all the embeds, but I did our first lead embed, JB. This is another easy one.
Oh gosh. He starts laughing.
Captain America. JB, real American hero. So I was number 1 in the unit, right? I had to stand up. JB was number 2. So. Chad Kruger, which just goes to show what Google search on your name can give you. And another easy one, Thor, pounding NC3 into the platforms. Mr. Schmaud. Yeah, this is another easy one. Still technically a superhero, but it's just hard to get respect. So I'm, not without, I gotta give you my secret identity as well. A lot of people thought this was Sparvin, but technically it's me. It appears, Robin, we've captured a comprehensive comms conundrum. So if I'm Batman, Scott Hardiman. It's clearly Robin. Holy piles of perplexing personnel paperwork. Miguel, give yourself that glass. Spider-Man. Yes. Handles a web of taskers, appointments, charts, calendars, meetings, and EAL. today. All right, Amanda couldn't be here, but just I'm going to dime her out as well, and she gets a mug. Right? She is Wonder Woman. She's still Wonder Woman. She just doesn't wear the red, white, and blue anymore. And last but not least, General Morris.
This is the kind of thing you do on the day before you retire.
You betcha. Aquaman. Been drinking from the NC3 fire hose ever since he got here. So, I'm really kind of humbled by the amount of stuff I'm going to have to pack in another U-Haul here. This was by far a degree of difficulty dive for this assignment was the highest ever. It was truly a humbling experience, and the only reason why I got through it was because of this group. So thank you all, and we will have even more fun tomorrow. That's all I got.